No one pulls you aside and says, "Be careful. You've just been drafted into a war." But you have. Welcome to the front lines of financial warfare. A battlefield where the enemy doesn't wear a uniform. It wears a logo. It hides in your feed. It slides into your emails, your cravings, your boredom. It speaks in discounts, temptations, and perfectly targeted ads. And its mission? To keep you broke. Not because you're not smart, not because you're not capable, but because your financial failure is someone else's profit. You think you're making your own decisions? No. You're being manipulated, guided, controlled. Every click, every impulse, every swipe, engineered to drain you dry. Subscriptions you forgot. Lifestyle upgrades you didn't need. Limited time offers that never really end. They've rigged the system so you stay in the loop. Earn, spend, stress, repeat. And while you chase status, dopamine, and treat yourself moments, they cash out. They win. But there's a weapon they didn't account for. Discipline. Because in a world designed to keep you distracted, focus is a superpower. In an economy built on overconsumption, restraint is rebellion. And in a culture addicted to debt, living below your means is a war cry. Understand this. This isn't about being frugal. It's about being free. Every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you control. Every dollar you invest is a future you build. Every dollar you protect is another layer of armor in this financial war. And if you think this doesn't apply to you, if you think you're safe because you make enough, let me ask you, how many rich people still live paycheck to paycheck? How many celebrities fall into bankruptcy after the spotlight fades? It's not about income. It's about identity. It's about habits. It's about who you become when no one's watching. When the offer pops up, when the sale hits, when the temptation whispers. Because this world doesn't reward self-control. It punishes it, mocks it, seduces you to abandon it. But you weren't built to be a puppet. You were built to be a force. So let them laugh. Let them flaunt their fake riches and borrowed time. You'll be too busy building your fortress, $1 at a time, one choice at a time, one investment at a time. And when the storm hits, when the economy crashes, the credit cards crumble, and the illusions shatter, you won't flinch. Because you weren't playing the same game. You were playing the long game. You chose discipline. You chose strategy. You chose to live below your means and invest the difference. And in the end, that choice is what wins the war. No flashy trophies. No viral posts. Just peace, power, freedom. And that is priceless. Benefit 1. Living below your means gives you control. In a world hell-bent on controlling you, through algorithms, through debt, through manufactured desire, there is no greater rebellion than taking control back. And it starts with this one habit: living below your means. Because the moment you spend less than you earn, you flip the script. You stop playing defense and start dictating the terms. Think about it. When you live at or above your means, you're not in control. Your bank account is a ticking time bomb. Your lifestyle is a leash. Your paycheck is a prison. You're not working because you want to. You're working because you have to. And when that's the case, you're vulnerable. One emergency away from collapse. One missed check away from panic. One financial hit away from compromise. That's not freedom. That's financial enslavement dressed up as middle-class normal. But when you start living below your means, you create space. You create options. You create power. You no longer have to take that toxic job. You no longer have to say yes when your soul screams no. You no longer have to tolerate mediocrity because of fear. Because you're not scrambling. You're strategizing. You're not reactive. You're proactive. You're not broke and bargaining with life. You're stockpiling ammunition. And that ammunition, it's cash. Cash is power. Cash is leverage. Cash is security in a world of chaos. But more than that, cash is quiet strength. It doesn't scream like luxury cars or designer clothes. It whispers peace of mind when everything else is screaming. And that peace, that's what allows you to move with clarity, not desperation. To say no to noise. To say yes to opportunity. To move like a tactician, not a victim. Most people think money problems are about not making enough. But that's a lie. Because if you can't control $1,000, you won't control $10,000. And if you can't live below your means at the bottom, you'll be drowning just as fast at the top. This world wants to keep you addicted to more, to comfort, to the illusion of success. But when you live below your means, you see through it. You step off the treadmill. You say no to the game. And you start building something real. Not for approval, not for status, but for freedom. Because true freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from needing less. So when the world tempts you to upgrade, impress, or keep up, remember this. Every unnecessary expense is a trade. You're trading power for pleasure, freedom for fluff, control for chaos. But when you live below your means, you're not trading anymore. You're taking it back. And the more you take back, the more unstoppable you become. Benefit 2. Living below your means builds relentless discipline. In a world of instant gratification, where one click can destroy your savings, where one craving can sabotage your future, where one emotional impulse can undo years of progress, there is no survival without discipline. And that's exactly what living below your means demands. Because when you decide to spend less than you earn, you're not just controlling your finances. You're reprogramming your brain. You're rewiring every impulse that was installed to make you weak. Think about what it means to deny yourself in a culture obsessed with consumption. Every billboard, every feed, every store, every friend trying to keep up appearances. They're all whispering the same poison. You deserve it. Why wait? Treat yourself. Life is short. But what they don't tell you is this. A lack of discipline is why life stays short. Short on peace. Short on freedom. Short on power. And every time you buy into that lie, you're feeding a version of yourself that's designed to lose. But when you live below your means, you start starving that version. You begin to kill the weakness. You stop feeding the beast of desire and start building the bones of resilience. Discipline is forged in those quiet moments, when no one sees you walk past the purchase, when no one knows you could have had it, but didn't. When you choose growth over gratification, those are the moments that shape warriors, not on the battlefield, not under a spotlight, but in silence. When you say no to what's easy, so you can say yes to what matters. And don't be fooled. Discipline in your wallet spills into every corner of your life. If you can control your money, you can control your food, your time, your habits, your emotions. Because money is just energy. It's just desire in numerical form. So when you can look that desire in the eye and say, "Not now, not yet. I have a bigger plan," you become dangerous. You become someone who's not led by pleasure, but by principle. Someone who doesn't need validation, indulgence, or applause. Just the mission, just the goal, just the long game. And here's the truth the system doesn't want you to realize. Every time you practice that kind of restraint, you are separating yourself from the masses. You are sharpening the blade of your will. You are fortifying the walls of your mind. You are becoming someone who cannot be broken by offers, by trends, or by temptation. And in a world where everyone is mentally obese from overspending and overindulging, you are cutting down to the core. Lean, focused, controlled, deadly. So no, living below your means isn't just a budget. It's not some boring spreadsheet. It's a weapon. And every time you wield it, you're not just saving money. You're building something far more valuable. Self-mastery. The kind of mastery that makes you unshakable. The kind of discipline that doesn't break under pressure. It becomes pressure. And eventually, that discipline turns into destiny. Because while others spend their lives chasing highs, you'll be building a legacy. $1, one decision, one disciplined act at a time. And that is how warriors are made. Benefit 3. Living below your means creates the wealth gap, your path to freedom. Most people never build wealth not because they don't earn enough, but because they never create the gap. The wealth gap isn't some economic theory. It's not some distant idea reserved for CEOs and Wall Street wolves. It's personal. It's practical. And it starts with one brutal truth. If you spend everything you earn, you will never be free. Zero gap, zero options, zero leverage. That's the reality of the modern slave. You may not be in chains, but if you're stuck in debt, if every paycheck is already spoken for, if every emergency becomes a crisis, you're still shackled. And those shackles, they're forged from comfort, from impulse, from trying to look rich instead of becoming rich. But when you live below your means, when you intentionally spend less than you bring in, you do something radical. You create the gap. And that gap is everything. It's where your power grows. It's where your options multiply. It's where your wealth begins to breathe. Because the gap is fuel. It's dry powder you can deploy to build assets, to invest in income streams, to escape the rat race. It's space to think clearly, to move intentionally, to break away from survival mode and enter strategic mode. And most importantly, it's where freedom is born. Freedom from desperation, freedom from toxic jobs, freedom from the pressure to pretend. Let's be real. Most people aren't broke because they don't make enough. They're broke because they spend like they're rich and save like they're immortal. But you're waking up. You're realizing that every dollar not wasted is a soldier you can deploy in the war for independence. And here's what happens when you start stacking those soldiers. You build an emergency fund, so life's punches don't knock you out. You start investing consistently, so your money begins to work while you sleep. You start acquiring assets, stocks, real estate, businesses, things that make money without demanding your time. Suddenly the world looks different. You're not terrified when the economy shifts. You're not begging for raises. You're not living in fear. Because you've built the gap. And that gap has built a fortress. A place where you can breathe, think, plan, strike, While others are buried under bills and blind ambition, you are strategic. You are armed. You are unshakable. But let's make one thing clear. The gap doesn't build itself. It must be created, carved out with precision, protected with discipline, and grown with purpose. It means you stop chasing the next shiny thing. It means you stop caring about what people think. It means you stop measuring success in likes, brands, and fake status. And instead, you start measuring success in peace, in power, in the ability to walk away from anything that compromises your values. Because when you build the gap, you stop selling your soul for survival. You start buying your life back. Not with flashy things, but with control. And that control, that's the quiet roar of real wealth. The kind of wealth they don't flaunt on social media. The kind that lets you sleep at night, wake up with a plan, and move through this chaotic world with certainty and strength. So build the gap, guard it, and never let the noise, the pressure, or the temptation shrink it. Because the bigger your gap, the faster you escape the trap, and the sooner you reach what most will never touch, true financial freedom. Benefit 4. Living below your means. Turns time into your greatest weapon. They say time is money. That's a lie. Time is more than money. Time is power. Time is leverage. Time is the great multiplier of every decision you make. But here's the brutal truth. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if your bank account flatlines every month, if your money is gone the second it arrives, you've turned time into your enemy. You're aging, but not advancing. You're working, but not building. You're surviving, but not compounding. Because when you spend everything you earn, you reset the clock to zero. Every time. No momentum, no assets, no forward motion. Just more grind, more stress, more waiting. But when you live below your means, when you carve out that sacred gap between income and expenses, you unlock the hidden force that the rich have mastered. Compound growth over time. Not just financial compound interest, but the compounding of wisdom, confidence, and freedom. Let's break this down. Every dollar you don't spend becomes a dollar you can invest. And every dollar you invest becomes a seed. Plant enough seeds, and over time, you don't just grow income. You grow independence. You earn while you sleep. You win while others waste. You move faster while they're stuck in the loop. And time becomes your ally. Because now it's not just passing. Now it's working for you. Every year that goes by, your investments grow. Your habits strengthen. Your options multiply. Your foundation hardens. And this doesn't require millions. It requires consistency. It requires delayed gratification in a world drunk on dopamine. You say no to the $5 coffee. You say no to the luxury car you can't afford. You say no to the vacation funded by credit. Not because you're cheap, because you're playing the long game. Because you know what they don't. That 10 years of discipline buys you a lifetime of freedom. That modest living and aggressive investing is a formula that never fails, if you give it time. Because time doesn't reward the loud. It rewards the patient. The one who stays calm when others panic. The one who thinks decades, not weekends. The one who understands that every smart choice today is a knife in the throat of tomorrow's uncertainty. And here's what makes it so powerful. While others are stuck sprinting on a treadmill, chasing the next raise, the next bonus, the next bailout, you're watching your money grow like a force of nature. Quietly, relentlessly, unstoppably. That's the weapon most people never wield, the compound effect of intentional living. But make no mistake, this isn't magic. It's math. It's behavior. It's your ability to say, not now, so you can later say, whenever I want. It's sacrificing today's impulse for tomorrow's power. And once you build that muscle, once you embrace that mindset, time stops being a threat. It becomes your greatest asset. While others decay, you evolve. While others regret, you rise. While others wonder where the years went, you'll be standing at the top, built not by luck, but by strategy. So don't just respect time, weaponize it. Live below your means, invest the difference, and let the clock make you unstoppable. Benefit 5. Living below your means shields you from economic storms. There's a storm coming. Maybe it's already here. Maybe it's a recession, a layoff, an unexpected medical bill, or a market crash. Maybe it's inflation tightening its grip around your paycheck, while the cost of living climbs and your peace of mind bleeds out. It doesn't matter how it hits. It just matters how prepared you are. Because the truth is simple. The storm doesn't destroy everyone. It only destroys the ones who built their life on sand. And most people have. They bought the car they couldn't afford, moved into the home that owns them, piled on debt for the illusion of status, spent their future on today's ego trip. So when the sky cracks and the winds howl, when the job market dries up or their bills double overnight, they have nothing. No savings, no cushion, no defense. They weren't building wealth. They were borrowing time. But you? If you live below your means, you're not just surviving. You're preparing. You're building armor, layer by layer. Every unnecessary purchase you deny becomes another brick in the wall. Every dollar saved becomes another weapon in your arsenal. Every investment becomes a bunker you can retreat to when the bombs start falling. You don't panic when the economy shifts. You don't beg for a bailout. You don't drown in despair while the news screams collapse. Because you've already been sharpening your blade in silence. You've been preparing in the shadows, training when others slept, stacking resources when others were bleeding them dry. And that's what living below your means really is. It's not minimalism. It's fortification. It's having 6 months of expenses stashed when others don't have 6 days. It's being able to pivot careers, move cities, or start over because you have the runway. It's knowing that even if everything around you burns, you don't. That's what separates the few who endure from the many who fall. Because when the pressure hits, most people break. They weren't ready. They never thought the good times would end. They danced in the sun, but never built shelter for the storm. But you become anti-fragile. You don't just survive adversity, you grow stronger from it. You buy opportunities when prices drop. You acquire assets when panic hits the streets. You make moves while everyone else is frozen. Because you didn't live for applause. You lived for resilience. You didn't seek pleasure. You sought power. And now, when the world trembles, you stand still. You have control. You have clarity. You have options. Living below your means won't make you immune to hardship, but it will make you bulletproof when it comes. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. But when the chaos arrives, and it will, you'll be the one who doesn't shatter. You'll be the one who steps through the wreckage, not just intact, but ready, prepared, built different, built to last. Benefit 6. Living below your means builds true freedom. You've been lied to. They told you freedom was a feeling, that it looked like luxury, tasted like champagne, drove like a leased car with payments you can't afford, flew first class on borrowed time and credit. But that's not freedom. That's performance. That's slavery in disguise. Chains made of silk and gold, wrapped tight around your throat. Because when your lifestyle owns you, you're not free. When your choices are dictated by bills, obligations, and image, you're not free. When the moment you stop working is the moment your world collapses, you're not free. You're a prisoner who decorated the cell. But here's the brutal truth they never tell you. True freedom doesn't come from earning more. It comes from needing less. And that's where living below your means changes everything. Because when you stop trying to impress the world, you start building a world that actually works. A world where your time is yours. Where your decisions aren't filtered through fear. Where you don't have to ask permission to breathe, move, travel, or rest. Freedom isn't passive income. It's the ability to walk away from toxic work, from manipulative relationships, from environments that kill your spirit. But you can't walk away when you're handcuffed to a bloated lifestyle. You can't stand tall when your every move is held hostage by your spending habits. And that's why living below your means is the quiet revolution. It's the art of subtraction in a culture of excess. It's saying no to what doesn't serve you, so you can say yes to what actually matters. It's waking up without panic. It's going to bed without regret. It's spending time with your family not as a luxury, but as a right. It's the power to say, I don't need this job. I choose it. I don't need this approval. I stand without it. I don't need more. I already have enough to build an empire. Because here's the thing. Freedom isn't just about location or money. It's about mindset. It's about living in a way that protects your sovereignty, your integrity, and your energy. When you live below your means, you're not shrinking your life. You're expanding your power. You're creating space for the things that truly matter. Time, health, peace, purpose. You stop buying things to feel better about the life you're trapped in, and start building a life you don't need to escape from. You become unshakable, not because you're rich, but because you're independent. Because you're not trapped in the same loop everyone else is. Work, spend, stress, repeat. You broke the pattern. You broke the chains. And now, you walk freely. While the world plays pretend, you move in truth. While they drown in status, you float in sovereignty. While they burn themselves alive to keep up with illusions, you carry the fire of clarity. That's what it means to be free. To no longer need applause, upgrades, or escape plans. To wake up, look around and say, this life is mine. Every part of it. That's not luck. That's not a gift. That's not a miracle. That's discipline. That's strategy. That's the quiet, powerful reward of choosing to live below your means. The freedom that most chase for a lifetime. While you build it, brick by brick, right now. And once you taste that kind of freedom, you'll never trade it for anything. Not for status, not for stuff, not for comfort. Because true freedom isn't found in what you own. It's found in what no longer owns you. Benefit 7. Living below your means. Works at any income level. Here's the excuse most people reach for when they're exposed. Well, that's easy for someone who makes a lot of money. I'll start saving when I make more. Living below your means only works if your means are high. No, that's the lie that keeps people stuck. Because this truth doesn't bend to your feelings or your income bracket. If you can't live below your means when you make a little, you won't do it when you make a lot. You'll just find more expensive ways to stay broke. You'll graduate from fast food to five-star restaurants, from $300 rent to $3,000 mortgages, from basic credit card debt to luxury car loans. The pattern doesn't break with a raise. It breaks with a decision. Because this game, it's not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. If you're making $30,000 a year and you spend $29,000, you're building the muscle of restraint, the habit of saving, the identity of someone who creates a gap. Now imagine what happens when you scale that up. You don't change the habit, you just increase the volume. And the results? They start compounding fast. But if you make $300,000 and you spend $310,000, you're just a broke person in expensive clothing. Living below your means isn't about being cheap. It's about being intentional. It's about knowing what you truly value and being ruthless about cutting everything else. When you live below your means at any level, you're training your subconscious that you are in control, not your cravings, not your circumstances, not your income. And that mindset is lethal in a world of undisciplined consumers. Because most people don't have a money problem. They have a self-control problem. You give them more money, they just accelerate their self-destruction. But when you're someone who lives below your means no matter what, you've built a mindset that scales, a system that evolves, a way of life that always wins. Because whether you're stacking pennies or stacking six figures, the principle holds. Control is greater than consumption. Strategy is greater than emotion. Freedom is greater than flexing. Living below your means gives you the one trait that guarantees wealth at any level: mastery over your impulses. It means you don't chase shiny things. You chase compound returns. You chase breathing room. You chase control. And that control, no matter how small it starts, grows into something unstoppable. Most people wait for the raise, the bonus, the big break, but they never fix the leak in their foundation. So when the money comes, it slips right through. But not you. You patch the leak now. You build the system now. You plant the seeds in famine. So when abundance comes, you're ready. You won't just have more money. You'll have a framework. And that framework is what separates the broke, who earn big, from the disciplined, who get rich quietly. So let them laugh. Let them flaunt. Let them fall. You're working a system that works at every level. You're building habits that can't be shaken by paychecks or temptation. You're proving that wealth isn't a number. It's a standard, a discipline, a way of life. And once you adopt that mentality, the world can't stop you. Because you'll rise, dollar by dollar, level by level, with the strength of someone who knows, no matter how much I make, I'll never spend enough to lose control. That's the mindset that turns small beginnings into empires. That's how you become unstoppable at any level. Living below your means isn't just advice. It's not a budgeting tip. It's not a cute idea for frugal people. It's a weapon, a shield, a strategy for survival and domination. In a world built to break you financially, where every billboard screams for your attention, every app is a trap, and every dollar you spend feeds someone else's empire. This is how you build your own. Let's recap what this truly means. You live below your means because it puts you in control. Not your bills, not your impulses, not your circumstances. You build relentless discipline. The kind of discipline that spills into every corner of your life. The kind that makes you sharp, calculated, dangerous. You create the wealth gap, a sacred space between income and expenses where freedom is born and your future is built. You weaponize time, turning it into your silent ally. Every day becomes a brick. Every investment becomes a soldier. And the years, they work for you now. You build a fortress that shields you from economic storms. When others shatter in chaos, you stand firm. Not because you're lucky, because you're ready. You build true freedom, not the kind sold to you in ads, but the kind that gives you the power to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your mission. And you prove, without question, that this works at every level. Because freedom isn't about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, how well you protect it, and how ruthlessly you multiply it. So the next time you're tempted to upgrade, to impress, to keep up, to treat yourself at the expense of your future, remember what's at stake. You are in a war. A silent, invisible, relentless war over your financial life. And your only way out, your only real path to power, is to live below your means and invest the difference with intention, clarity, and fire. This is the foundation of everything. Control, discipline, wealth, freedom. It doesn't come later. It starts now. And once you commit to this path, there's nothing they can do to stop you. Build the discipline, create the gap, master the game, and take back your life.